Now, on the Tree of Life, I'm going to continue doing this extremely survey kind of course, quick, on how to define and how to navigate, how to begin to understand, begin to see spiritually the Tree of Life, what it represents, how it's encrypted, how it is in the text, 100%, how this has this, if you were a chemist, you would learn how to read the chemical chart and you would be able to understand it at a glance, where it would be Greek to other people. To a true, holy, Siddiq, Torah sage, scholar, understanding this chart, the Sefiroth Tree of Life, this is akin to understanding a Kabbalah chart. If you can look at this and read this and understand it, this is the spiritual chart of Elohim. This is everything that we know, really and truly, mapped out. There's a place for everything. Mashiach is all over this, Yod Hey Vav Hey. But you have to start somewhere and begin to learn and understand. So that's what I'm doing. I'm on Hokhmah. Hokhmah is the second Sefiroth, as we are coming sort of down out of the mind of Elohim, and we are finally going to end up, kind of boots on the ground with a whole creation full of amazing, people and plants and sun, moon, and stars and hidden parts. And I wanted to draw attention. This other chart I have are two quick things before I get into Hokhmah. Because Hokhmah and Bina, this is such a fundamental understanding, and unfortunately in Western, especially Western, I have to say, Western paganized Greek Christianity, they have lost the true underpinnings of the Hebraic understanding, okay? And, the job of the elect, we've got to figure this back out. Truth is going to be totally restored. The ancient paths, the ancient understandings are going to come back into our consciousness, our ability. So what I want to say is, Keter I talked about, and Sof I talked about, really and truly our transcendent Elohim. Our transcendent God is beyond place, time, all reality. And then about Keter, his first thought, what we can know. Remember, he said the things that he has revealed are for us and for our children's children, for all generations. There is so much to know, unfortunately, besides, the very, and not to denegate it, but to say much more than Jesus loves me, this I know. There is so much to tell the world that we know about Elohim and the creation and the whole storyline, from the beginning of creation until the new heaven and new earth come down and we go back into eternity, immortality. So let me try to say this here. I have some lists over here. When you're reading a spiritual chart, all right, one thing you have to understand is that, everything has meaning and everything is coded with levels of meaning. So there is, and I'm just going to kind of just go through this to clue people into the kind of information you're going to find. Because if you, again, go to any websites, other traders, you're really and truly learning a new language, you're learning a new way to think, you're learning what are called, the Bible calls it the secrets, calls it the meat, calls it the hidden Torah, calls it the soul of Torah. There's so many different things. Some of these deeper levels, okay? So the first thing to understand in these, there's 10, this is important. Numbers are really important for a reason. That's why when people start to study the word, the first thing you start to see is groupings. Oh, there's groupings. 1, 2s, 3s are grouped together. 4s get grouped together. 5s of things, 7s of things. And that's very true, and it's very specific, and it's very intentional. All right, you haven't just rediscovered the wheel. The wheel's always been there. All right. So, but when you get after Keter, we get into Hokhmah and Bina, we have to understand something. This is the beginning of Abba and Ima, of the male and the female, of the mother and the father. All right. And those are words that are archetypes that are conveying concepts, theology. All right. There is no real. So like I said, God up there made of flesh and blood with a wife, and they walk around like we do and eat and I mean, that's not what we're talking about. So the first level of understanding, when you talk about these words, especially male and female, you really do have to divest your mind of physicality and especially the negative connotations down here that we deal with. And okay, it's a much more, as they say, sublime, holy, high, theological of the mind way in which these are being used. So the first thing to understand is there's always an English word for these, because I'm an English-speaking person. I live in the Western world, and I have not had the great luxury or privilege of knowing Hebrew, growing up with Hebrew. So to us, these are English transliterated words. So you'll have Keter, Hokhmah, and Bina. Said they're different. That's about Yesod and Melkut. Okay, those are translated English words. But if you look at it, more importantly, is its Hebrew word. All right, there's a Hebrew word behind each of these, and they're made of very specific Hebrew letters. It's not an accident. It's in our text. And so you have to understand that there's a Hebrew word, but that is made up of Hebrew letters. And the more I study, the more I come to understand it, what the Hebrews are saying, or what our Zoharic understanding that is coming from the writings in the House of Judah in this mystical category of writings, is how the letters, as the foundational building blocks of life, are the whole, like the DNA of everything. Now, what's important to understand, again, with letters, we're not talking about black letters on a white piece of paper. This, when you talk about the letters, you are talking about pictographs. You're talking about a symbol that represents a whole concept that is very, and let me say, relatable to. The thing about the Hebrew is they're masters at giving you parabolic or allegorical images that you can relate to. All right. So when Malkut, which is called the kingdom, which is known as physicality, when I tell you that the tree that we see up there is in the kingdom of Malkut, you should be able to really understand that. It's something physical. It's finally here. It's manifested. It's grown up. All right. It's seed. But then you got to ask, where did that seed come from? Who designed the seed? Who made the earth that put it in? Who made the rain that waters it? Who made the sunlight that causes it to grow? You got to keep going deeper and deeper and give deeper answers to these questions about life. But back to the letters. The Hebrew, there are 22 letters. The first 9 letters, Aleph through Tet, represent, are all coded on this thing. Because another thing, when you start to see these charts, you'll start to see all these little dotted lines between each of them, and you'll see letters. So letters flow from one kind of Sefiroth circle to another, and there's relationship in these. So it will tell you. So the letters are literally grouped together very cogently to represent what's going on in their domain, their sphere, where they are. All right. So Keter, Hokhmah, and Bina at the top of the chart have a whole special different signification than something down here in Malkut. Okay, and there's a ton of information from Keter to Malkut, even though they're totally connected and they're all one. All right, if we're trying to understand it. So the letters, they're the first 9 letters. Aleph through Tet represent the lower part of Bina. The next 9 letters, Yod through Sadiq, stand for Zer Anpin, and the last 4, Kof through Tav, stand for Malkut. All right, now this is important, and I'm not going into that, it's beyond the scope of this video, but if I was to tell you, if you had the understanding, if I said to you about Zer Anpin, so the Yod through the Sadiq, the letters, the 9 letters that stand for Zer Anpin, this in here is coded, and sometimes it includes Malkut and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on what you're talking about. This is called Zer Anpin. All right, it's just something you got to know. It's already given its larger title of classification. All right. So, all right. So there's a, I said there's the English word for it, the Hebrew, the letters. There's an ethical quality always given to these. That's why you'll see Hesed is always mercy, Gevera is always judgment. Okay, there's a whole reason concept behind it, and you go into, and I've covered a lot of this in a lot of the videos, but I'm just going to sum it up again. Direction and geography. I spent a lot of time in a couple of videos explaining how, so that you know where you are in this, they are coded with a north, south, east, west, up, and down. All right, so you know where you are, and this is not a flat surface, even though this is rendered, as they say, two-dimensionally on a flat surface. This is actually representing hypercube. It's representing spherical shapes. It's totally dimensional. All right, and they make models of it dimensionally. You can go, you can Google that and see that online. So there's metals. They're all called like gold and silver. Okay, Bina is always equated as gold. Hokhmah is silver. Get apples of gold and I think it's bowls of silver. That language, that's Sefiroth language. All right, this is what they're talking about. So that's important to know. There's body parts. All right, this is also, if you've seen online, this is represented as a person, our body. Our body is a tree and the human body are the two most commonly used and really great archetypes or overall images to use to explain what we're talking about. Because while Yahweh has a mind, we know this, all right? He does actions, we know this. It says that he gets mad or he repents. I mean, these are all things that people try to figure that he makes, fashions, forms, whatever, and where that is happening separatively. And then we have down here we have the physical manifestation of everything that's been made. So these things is all equated into body parts. So you have a head. That's why I talk this with the Keter is the crown is on the head. All right, you don't put a crown on your feet. I mean, nobody ever has done that. I mean, it's just never done that way. So this is very purposeful. So when we Hokhmah and Venus, so you get down to Malkut is always known as the feet. Okay, and then you have the heart here, you have the torso here, you have the feet. So it follows about, these are arms, so there's also the pillars here. There are 3 pillars that are important to understand in this diagram. There's 3 verticals that go this way, all right? These 3 verticals, did you know they're referred to as the 3 mothers? Who knew? And it's very specific. There's the 3 fathers. They're referred to going the vertical lines that go down, columns that are made by this. So you have 3 mothers, 3 fathers. All right, then you have mountains. People are into these different mountains in the Bible. It's not being used. I mean, yes, there are physical mountains. There's a Mount Nebo, there's a Mount, but the mountains are being used. They're equated also with Sefirot. So if you knew the mountain that's equated with that Sefirot, when they use the mountain, the prophets on it, you could transpose it. You could say, oh yeah, I know where he's talking, and that is a level of Sephirotic power, authority, understanding. And your geography, so you can start to work your way around. You can navigate the parts of heaven. This is something our prophets did. This is something we need to understand. When you look up to heaven, it's not just supposed to be just a bunch of air. It's extremely, the ancients understood it. They're 10 heavens. They understood this. They knew the angels. There's angels, there's armies, there are certain things that go on in different heavens and dimensions. It's all so incredibly, masterfully woven together. So you have the patriarchs and the matriarchs. You think that these stories we have over and over are just about, and some of these figures who are larger than life. This is the thing. Joseph, Abraham, Moshe, Yeshua, these people are larger than life. You don't get them every generation, okay? These are Mashiach figures, all right? And that's another whole element here. And there are some of these patriarchs and the matriarchs, Rachel, Sarah, Leah. The fact, let me just give you this, Bina, who is equated with the matriarch Leah, all right? Leah gave birth to 6 sons. You think it's an accident? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is talking about 6 Zerah and Pin, because Bina did give birth to Zerah and Pin, which is These are known as 6 sons, right? S-O-N-S. You come down here, Bina also, Leah also had a daughter. One of the most hidden, and someday I will do a teaching on hidden stories in the text with extremely great esoteric understanding is the story of Bina, who was the daughter, and it's in the writings, it's there. It had a daughter who was, this is the whole story with Levi and Simeon, I believe, and the Shechemites, and the story of Chochmah. And Dina was captured and raped. Anyways, but that story, she's a daughter. So that's why Malkut is female, Bina is female. There's a very specific reason why these stories play out and very deeper, can be used to play out and reveal deeper esoteric truths just by following their storyline. Okay, it's not arbitrary. Now, there's planets. We know that each Sefirot is related to a planet because of the because they run. There's a whole section in here where the Mazzaroth, part of this whole thing is the Mazzaroth, the whole sun, moon, and stars, all those heavens that are made to run. They're called the chariots, the wheels in Ezekiel. There's something, all right? We could go into all that. The fruits, you ever wonder why there's so many, the fruits are important in the season that they're grown in, and their different harvests. The vowel points, there's 10 vowels, and that is so deep, where each vowel represents a separate and is adding information. That's another whole level of coded fingers. Now, this is something, again, I know in the profane occultic world, and if people just kind of Google it all blind and don't really I just zero in on the Jewish understanding. All right, I don't go into any other kind of Kabbalistic sites or books or readings or understandings. In my opinion, they're all just imitators. They are all just spewing back different, very lesser levels of understanding, because this was world knowledge. You understand? Our patriarchs, David had a worldwide kingdom. Solomon had a worldwide kingdom. And the knowledge of Solomon was in all the earth. He was a master kabbalist. So this is something we need to understand, all right? I'm sorry if the Greeks have rewritten history and they want to say that everything originated from them. Well, I mean, that's not true, but that's sort of the sorry state of affairs we have right now. It is all going to come back home to the house of Judah. It's going to be seen that the poor sages did keep, the writings and the understanding in the house, and they will get a reward for that. You have colors. The 10 colors is important. That is giving us information. There's 10 classes of angels. I've done a whole series on angels where they know. Like I think it's the Ophanim. What's the level of angel in? I have it written down somewhere. In Hokhmah. All right. So this is also known. Let's see. I finish here. You have 10 sayings. Did you know that there are 10 times in the first chapter of Genesis where it says that God said, that Yah said, and when He said something, it happened. It was extremely primordial. He said, "Let there be light," and there was light. All right, that's extremely important. That there were 10 groupings, 10 separate. Saying when He said, He created these 10, the channels, the paths, the energies, the whole thing of these 10 Sephirotic emanations, energies. I guess you could say parts, because you have to. This is the whole dilemma. You have to be able to think critically. You have to be able to think on many levels at the same time. You have to be able to understand that there is many levels of meaning, all right? And just because you don't understand something, you don't understand how sometimes even a seeming kind of can you just have to wait, because when you have more light, you understand it better. As I have said, I was thinking about this one day, and the image that came into my mind, I felt like this is what Yahweh was sort of saying. Look at it this way. If I was in my backyard with a little flashlight and I'm looking at the grass and I'm looking at everything, I have a limited view. I have a view. I can see, let's say I'm in darkness, right? And I have a flashlight and I can see. Well, let's just say, and I did this, I go up to my house and I turn on my floodlights on my backyard, and all of a sudden I can see incredibly more spatially detail. You know, from I can see distance, I can see greater detail. So the amount of light that you have on a situation totally determines how much of it you really see correctly. All right, this is so important to understand, and this is why we grow. We're climbing a ladder. We're getting higher and higher. So, in the sense, in our mental understanding, we can see greater and greater truths and how these truths do interlock, how they do integrate, how they do fit together. All right, which maybe you couldn't figure out right down here. And when you're in Malcolm, we hit a little flashlight, you're just looking at a little foot or something. All of a sudden, you turn the light and you can see the whole thing. All right, and it's all there and it's beautiful and it makes sense. This is what Adam was able to see the whole and understand when he was the king, the king with Keter over this whole thing, over the creation, all right? But then, you know, he fell. So when he fell, doesn't it mean, you know, he lost, this is when we lost a lot. But at the same time, we have retained a lot. This is, Yahweh is good. See, we always have, and then let me just ask, that the 10 sayings, there's 10 commandments. All right, this is very important. It's not an accident. There are 10 commandments, and these are these are not permeable. There's parts of Elohim, you know, that are permeable. There are parts that do not change. So you all have to, it all has to be understood as a way to encrypt great knowledge. If you were a Torah saint, you'd start as a little kid in yeshiva, in Torah school, and you would learn your Hebrew, and then you would learn your letters, and you would learn the numbers with the letters, and you learn the gematria, and you learn all the systems, and you would, you know, build it. You know, this whole world would be built for you, precept upon precept. Fortunately for us, it's a little more difficult because we are just kind of coming in on our own, and because unfortunately today, true Jewish Kabbalistic understanding is under such fire today. Corrects me, because so many Ephraimite teachers, you know, they have become very arrogant. They think they know better than Judah, who is born the heat of the day. All right, they think they understand, and they think they understand Mashiach, and they think that Israel, or let's say Judah, has totally messed up on Yeshua. All right, on Mashiach, and unfortunately, fortunately, when everything is said and done, and we're going to understand. It isn't necessarily that they, I don't know, it gets too deep on too many levels. It's all is going to work together for good, all right? So the two houses are going to come together, and we are going to astound the world. I hope that in a day is in a literal 24-hour day. It could be in a season. Day is used so many different ways, so we don't know yet. But we are definitely getting back to greater and greater light. This understanding really has been buried and has been only understood amongst a close-knit circle of sages and rabbis and some very initiated Christians, and to a certain extent in other spiritual mystical traditions and religions. But we're bringing it all home, all right? So I did need to say that. And the last point I want to make with this is that's very important for people to understand. Like I said, this might look like a flat chart, but it's very dimensional. But one of the primary things, let me say this again to understand, in this is direction, is you have horizontal relationships, you have vertical relationships, all right? It's very important. So when it talks about, and it goes like this, let me see if I can just put this in here quick. You have Yod, Hey. Oh, sorry. Well, here, because Yod, I'm just wanting to show you. It goes Yod to Hokhmah. Yod, Hey, Bob, and Bob is all of this. Yod, Hey, Bob, down to the final Hey. All right, which and to shorten it, they usually go Yod, Hey, Bob, Hey. All right. This Hey here, that's why I say with dot. All right. When you have wisdom, you have understanding. Like it says, the principal thing you get. I've been through this. To get that knowledge, you'll have that. Now, and this is the middle pillar. So what we have here now, when I'm going to start, primary thing to understand when you're trying to understand Hokhmah and Bina in this relationship, all right? The male and the female, and there's so many ways in which they coded, but you know, in the profane way today, for most people to try to understand, because there is truth, all right? But my whole thing is that any truth that does not ultimately acknowledge Yahweh Elohim as the high God, the creator of everything, visible and invisible, the whole thing, has not arrived. All glory has to go back to the original Ensof creator through Keter. It has to go back and he has to get the glory. If you personally have not been able to do that, let's say, you know, you're checking out my channel, it's just, and you have a lot of good New Age information. I'm not saying it's all bad. I mean, a lot of the understanding is quite accurate, but it does not ultimately bring you back. That path is not going to bring you back and not going to cause you to acknowledge, all right, that Yahweh Elohim is at the top of this. Okay, that's just a really important understanding to have. But I want to just talk quick about the pillars, because Hokhmah and Bina are deliberately set up in the system. They're opposites. But at the same time, while they work as opposites, they work totally complementary, because you can't have one without the other. All right. And this is the fundamental truth behind Hokhmah and Bina, male and female. When the husband leaves his house and goes to live with his wife, and they shall become one. This is the most fundamental building block of everything, all the way down. It takes a male and a female, a coupling of a male energy and a female energy to create a third. All right, to create a son, or propagate. Be fruitful and multiply. The principle is it has to have the male and the female principles to come together. And this is unfortunately, at the end of the age, we've lost so much. We're walking in such darkness. I mean, this is the problem with a lot of our quote unquote societal sexuality issues, where people, they think you can just pick a sex. And, it's very confusing to people that we've lost so much foundation. And it's crazy. And people are inventing new foundations that have not been known since the beginning of since the foundation of the world. Who would have thought?